What's up, y'all? Welcome to the latest episode of Bitcoin Magazine Happy Hour. I'm your host, Colin, and I'm here with Michael and Brandon.
Greetings.
All right, let's crack them open, boys.
Nice. Cheers afterwards.
We can cheers afterwards.
Cheers. Or as they say in French.
That sounds Chinese.
It's not Chinese. There you go. All right, so today on the docket, we're going to be talking about Virgil Griffith's recent arrest after visiting North Korea. Well, he actually visited North Korea like in April, but he just recently got arrested over the Thanksgiving weekend. We're also going to talk about Kelly Loeffler. I believe that's how you pronounce her name. Is it Loeffler?
Yeah, maybe Loeffler.
Loeffler. Yeah, maybe Loeffler. We're talking about her appointment to the Senate, which actually just got confirmed yesterday. It's an emergency appointment.
I didn't see that.
Yeah, so she's in. So the way it works in Georgia is that the governor just, appoints someone, and then in the 2020 election there will be an actual election for it.
That's how it works in any southern state.
Yeah, most of them actually. And we'll also be talking about Bitfinex's integration of the Lightning Network, and maybe at the end we'll talk about the My Cause, My Cleats, for My Cleats, My Cause, Russell Okung, and that's kind of interesting.
Russell.
Well, you don't find that a good?
No, I love that
topic. All right,
I love it.
So let's dive in. Let's just get dirty with Virgil first, because I think this is a wild topic.
Dirty Virg.
So for those of you who don't know, Virgil Griffith was a developer, and he was actually employed by the Ethereum Foundation. He actually knew Vitalik way back in the day, helped him with the white paper a little bit. And he visited Pyongyang, the capital of North Korea, also known as the Democratic People's Republic of Korea, but we will be calling it North Korea in this podcast. And he visited the Pyongyang Crypto and Blockchain Conference in April and gave a talk supposedly titled, I saw somewhere, Blockchain and Freedom. And it was all about how you can use cryptocurrencies to launder money and evade sanctions. Now, this caused a big tizzy.
Wait, was the video real where, Virgil was giving the presentation and, Kim Jong-un was, slapping his knee and being like, that's fucking awesome?
Maybe. I
never
saw that video.
I would put it at 0% chance that he was giving this presentation to Kim Jong-un.
You sure?
He's probably giving it to just some random people.
Damn.
All right, this is the most irrelevant story, I think, in the entire world.
Why is it irrelevant?
I mean, it's
well. Let me finish with what happened really quick first. So he goes to this conference, right? And then he ends up getting approached by the FBI when he comes home, and he ends up getting arrested in November for basically violating U.S. sanctions and going to North Korea without the U.S. Department's clearance. You actually have to get clearance to go to North Korea. He applied for that clearance, and he was denied, but he went anyway.
So he was arrested by the United States?
Yeah, he was arrested by the United States government, by the federal government, I'm pretty sure. And basically the charges But the charges being brought against him are helping a foreign government try to evade sanctions. So why do you think that it's a non-story?
All right. First and foremost, the stuff that he was telling him from what I've read is hey, you could buy Bitcoin in North Korea, send it to a banking partner in South Korea, and then sell it for South Korean, currency. And it's all right, if I was 11 years old, I could come up with that solution. He's basically, this is the equivalent, in my opinion, of someone going to Russia and telling them how to Google, making a nuclear bomb. It's just this is such, it's not like he's telling them stuff they don't know.
Nuclear bombs aren't the anarchist cookbook, It's not like you're making a bomb with, the works toilet cleaner, So I guess what I would say for, that analogy, I think that you might take for granted how much, people who aren't in this industry know about how this stuff works and know about its potential. So, for all we know, he could have been providing North Korean officials, which I would in my opinion, because this is part of the problem with this case, is people, no one really knows what the conference was like because no one was there. But we could safely assume that these are high-level technologists and North Korean officials. This isn't a conference for normal people. There were 100 people there, based on their website.
Quotes of what he said, and he was basically explaining to them that with this technology you could avoid sanctions, and so just objectively that is so stupid.
Yeah, that's really
so fucking dumb for him to go to North Korea and do this in the first place.
This guy's nobody.
He's not a nobody, man. He's a prominent figure in the Ethereum. He's got a Wikipedia page. He's not a nobody.
What does it mean to be a prominent figure in Ethereum? Nothing. You don't have any power over Ethereum.
So you can make your own Wikipedia page.
So, but
Yeah,
to be fair, I mean, the only prominent thing about him was that and this isn't prominent, I disagree with what I'm about to say, but he was employed by the Ethereum Foundation while he went there. So, like, the fact that he was working for them and then went there, he
wasn't doing it on their behalf, I'm sure, though.
Well, right, but that's the thing. That's what he said. But it's like, come on, you're employed. So, I mean, imagine if, we're employed for Bitcoin Magazine. Imagine if we went to some, like, I can't think of a conference like this, but imagine if we went to a terrible shitcoin conference and, like, we're talking about the technology that we're about. Why would we do that if we're not in some way representing where we're from? I don't, you know what I mean?
So I think you guys are missing my point, though. My point is that, like, he's going to people whose jobs are to, like, run economies, and he's like, hey guys, have you ever heard of, like, transferring your money to another bank and selling it there? Like, whoa, what a concept.
I mean, but, like,
it's so dumb. Like,
I mean, whether or not it's dumb is beside the point. Like, these officials, their job is to learn from experts in certain fields how to make things more efficient on their end. And he submitted proposals to the North Korean government, got those proposals approved, and then proceeded to go to the North Korean capital and teach these officials about how to evade sanctions. And that's the problem, right? And I think so, like, number one...
I'm not saying what he did wasn't wrong. Yeah, it was wrong. But it was also, more importantly, dumb and irrelevant.
I mean,
that's my argument.
I would say dumb. Definitely not irrelevant, though, because this is, like, the first instance of the United States government basically punishing someone for going
to North Korea.
I know, I get it. I'm not saying, like, we expect this, right?
Yeah.
Didn't what's his face, the basketball player, go to North Korea with Popcoin?
Dennis Rodman is friends with Kim Jong-un.
Yeah,
that's different.
I mean, crypto's already sent people to North Korea before, right? Like,
yeah,
this dude
but
is just...
This is a developer from one of the most central entities, the Ethereum Foundation, in crypto, going and telling an oppressive regime how they can use cryptocurrencies to circumvent international sanctions.
But he also...
So this is more than relevant.
In the same breath,
this is extremely relevant.
He could have gone over and said, like, you could carry physical gold into South Korea and sell it for dollars there. And it's like, it's the exact same thing. Like,
I mean, but
just correct me if I'm wrong.
It's so dumb.
Correct me if I'm wrong. But the way that this can be all, like, exemplified in a meme is that meme where it says, like, nobody... Absolutely nobody.
Yeah.
And then Virgil, hey guys, do you want to learn how to, like, evade sanctions? Like,
exactly.
Like, because I don't understand where this came from other than him literally being a moron.
Well, that was the one thing that people were, like, talking about on Twitter. It's like, I think Larry Cermak from The Block had, like, a kind of a tweet storm about it where he was basically saying, like, his Facebook page kind of it displays this weird, like, veneration for the North Korean regime.
Yeah.
And the dude had a weird obsession with North Korea, which is another thing that Laura Shin pointed out. She also had a really good tweet storm about it. I recommend anyone read it for anyone who thinks that he was going over there to show normal Korean citizens how to evade sanctions, which he wasn't. But she was basically saying, like, okay, he seemed to be obsessed with North Korea, but he either A, was super naive, or B, did not really understand how the political system works. Maybe
both.
Yeah, well, maybe the dude,
thing.
you know, maybe let's give him the benefit of the doubt for a second. Maybe he went over there completely expecting this to be a normal blockchain conference like we would go to in the United States. I'm just saying, let's give him the benefit of the doubt. And he just thought he was going to be presenting to people there on a topic that he thought was relevant. I don't think that's the case. I think he had to be really fucking stupid to, like, you know, not realize that who you're going to be talking to are not average North Koreans, and it's just going to be the elites.
Here's my big qualm with it, I guess, showing my full, like, bias in this, is that, like, New York Times ran with the story, and they were like, former University of Alabama student working in cryptocurrency teaches North Korea how to evade sanctions. And as a guy who is a former University of Alabama student working in the Bitcoin space, I'm like, yo, please don't let that be our big number one tie into this space. Like, we worked really hard on trying to, like, make Bitcoin important and, like, you know, a force of good for the world.
Right, but that's the other thing too, is it's not, I mean, so for normies it is about Bitcoin, but I think for, like, everyone else in the industry, they see this as, like, look at what the Ethereum, like, if you look at the original,
dude, it's so like, I'm just gonna add this, and I think, like, we should wrap this, like, terribly stupid conversation up, because this is
not terribly stupid. I don't know why you guys are acting like this isn't a big deal. This is huge.
It's to me, it's the exact same thing as a criminal walking up to a bad example, but it's just about the point of, we don't have to talk about this for that long. Someone walking up to the police station saying, you know what, hey, I have. Oh wait, hold on.
Make way.
We have a special guest here.
So this is
All right,
coming in.
I'm hearing what you guys are saying, and some of the stuff you're saying is completely stupid. So I just needed to chime in.
please,
real quick in
please,
defense of,
please,
Virgil.
please enlighten me as
So,
to how it's stupid,
first off,
David.
okay, we know Virgil. I don't know if y'all know that, but Virgil used to be friends back in the day with Aaron Schwartz.
Who's Aaron Schwartz?
Aaron Schwartz is the real founder of Reddit, guy who hung himself because he published all of these files from MIT, and the government tried to go after him. Really one of the most influential people on the internet. I think he started the blackout the internet when they tried to start censoring websites on the internet. So Virgil has a history of doing provocative things that push the limits of really freedom for individuals, period. So he started something called Tor to Web, which allowed anyone to go to a website called onion.city and search the dark web from an existing web browser. So that's already something that's like...
Okay, what does this have to do with him going to North Korea to talk to the establishment about ways that they can use cryptocurrencies?
About going to North Korea is that Virgil, as many people in the Bitcoin space think, is not someone who considers himself a subject or slave of the United States. He considers himself a free person with free thought who can say whatever he wants to say to whoever he wants to say it to. There is nothing wrong, or should be nothing wrong, with telling someone to go Google something. There should be nothing wrong to telling someone to go to a website and learn something.
He wasn't telling them to go
There
Google
should be
something.
nothing wrong with identifying the difference between proof of work and proof of stake as it relates to a blockchain. None of those things are state secrets, and it's really a criminalization of knowledge sharing, which I think is a really bad thing to have in a free world. And what Bitcoin is fighting for is a free world. I would also say, like, put the shoe on the other foot. If someone from North Korea came to America, gave a speech on how the United States could use blockchain technology to stop economic activity in Korea, returned to North Korea, was arrested in
They would
North
be
Korea,
killed for doing that in
Yeah.
North Korea. Then that's kind of my
you know,
point.
the Americans would
Like-
say civil rights abuse.
Right, because I
Not
think...
like he had that coming. He shouldn't have done that. So yet, when an American goes to North Korea and comes back to America, we think it's okay to lock him up and throw him in a
David,
cage.
people in North Korea are imprisoned for consuming Western media. Like, this isn't America, and you can't draw comparisons between the two. What Virgil
I'm
did...
saying what if the government of North Korea did that, it'd be disgusting. And I'm saying what the United States has done is disgusting. Like, we were invited to that conference. I wanted to go to that conference. Like,
So they actually held a conference in North Korea?
Yeah, in
we held a
Pyongyang.
conference.
Yeah, it was
sent
a
out an email
conference
to,
in
like, tons of
Pyongyang.
Crypto people.
Okay.
And, you know, like, I don't agree with the government of North Korea. I don't agree with the government of Russia. I don't agree with the government of Iran. I don't agree with really any totalitarian government that's out there. That doesn't mean that I wouldn't go to those places and talk about technology that can liberate people from the totalitarian
Right, but the
regime
thing
that
is,
they're in.
the thing, but
This
that's
was
the
a
thing.
government conference, though.
But that's the thing is, like, the people who this is going to help aren't involved in that conference. Like, they're not going to be able to partake in the talks for their own liberation. So it's a complete non-starter because the people you're educating are the elites. This isn't helping any of the North Korean people. This is just helping the elites who are subjugating their people to concentration camps.
I think that's your
like,
opinion.
That's
your-
not. That's literally
So,
like.
what Colin's bringing up is like what Laura like made this big thread, and
This
she
is how
basically was
North Korea works, man. This
she was
isn't an
ma-
opinion. This is how a totalitarian
She
state
was basically
operates.
explaining how like anything that has to do with anything relating not to the totalitarian, like basically anything that's not exactly the criteria that like the government wants their people to learn. Anything besides that will never reach those people. So the people who like would benefit most from it are not the people that would ever see it.
North Korea is essentially a prison masquerading as a country. People are not allowed to leave. They aren't allowed to travel out of their own towns without permission. They are not even allowed to think their own thoughts out loud. If a North Korean verbalizes a thought not in line with the regime's propaganda or commits some other perceived crime, they risk not only being sent to a prison camp, but also having their entire family sent there and the next two generations being
that's
born.
That's the justification for criminalizing knowledge.
No, I just think that we need to be drawing ethical lines. Like, this is not like you're going to, Latin America and speaking to Venezuelans or Argentinians about how they can use Bitcoin or DeFi to liberate themselves from economic enslavement. This is a person going to a totalitarian state and informing them on how to use a technology that only strengthens
Also,
the
let's point out his speech that he gave was blockchain and peace.
blockchain and freedom.
You know-
But yeah, I could make a speech about blockchain and peace and go to Maduro and give that to Maduro, that doesn't mean that I'm actually preaching about peace. He was giving a talk on technology that only helps a totalitarian state further its capital controls.
Your argument to literally every single country on the planet. You could say that going to speak at a government conference in China, in which you're giving technology to the Chinese government that helps the Chinese government have more control over their state when they're locking people up in Western China, is furthering the goals of a criminal state. You can say that. You can really extend that argument to probably every developing country on the planet. And you know what we're going to end up in is a world where people can't communicate knowledge, because if they do, they're going to end up in an American prison. Not in a North Korean prison, in an American prison. The one place where you're supposed to be free to share any idea, absolute freedom. And so it's like scary to me to think that now as a company, we need to make decisions about what conferences and countries are we going to go to, because we don't want to be arrested for sharing information.
I think that we're going to be fine with going to countries as long as those countries aren't North Korea.
So actually, that's not the case. So actually, after this, we've gotten emails from our attorneys. There's a whole list of sanctioned countries. There are like 22 that are on the naughty list, and there's like, let's say 10 on the we cannot go to those countries, period. And so to me, that's fucked up, because you know what? I didn't sign up to be some pawn in a war that now I have to succumb to the rules of America to go talk to someone. Like, I'm going to talk to people and tell them what I think or what I believe, and I shouldn't be put in jail.
Right. Well, all I'm saying is that, like, you can do that, and that's fine, and you can give the finger to the state. But my problem is not with the fact that he went and shared information. My problem is with the fact that he showed zero ethical judgment and decided to go give a talk to a regime with a absolutely tragic human rights record. And I think that's the important problem here. It's not the fact that
China has a tragic.
Okay, and if you went to go give a talk to Xi Jinping, I would be saying the same thing.
Really?
Like, yes, because you shouldn't be supporting these totalitarian states.
Hold on,
you should be giving the talks to the people who this technology is supposed to liberate. You giving a talk to a bunch of technocrats and elitists,
Virgil was never able to do.
So just don't go. He was stupid.
So that's
it's so ridiculous.
What I'm wondering is, like, knowing all that and knowing what you just said about his background, why would he? I mean, besides what you said about him being provocative, why would he do it?
Because
knowing all that,
he doesn't believe that he should be. He has true ethical and philosophical opinions that information should be free,
and so he has no
able to be shared.
He has no bones with talking to Kim Jong-un about it.
I have no bones with talking to Kim Jong-il about it. If I had a chance to sit down with Kim Jong-il and talk to him about Bitcoin, either of them.
Ill's dead.
May his soul rest in peace.
And talk to them about Bitcoin, I would do it in a second. And I wouldn't do it because
knowing what comes after that.
Absolutely, because I'm looking for the collapse of all governments. All right, I'm looking for the collapse of all sanctions.
And giving Bitcoin knowledge to the people who control the governments is somehow going to necessitate that collapse.
It furthers the adoption and acceleration of the technology.
It doesn't, though, because you're just talking to the people who already hold the power. It's not about disintermediating power at that point.
Do you think it's wrong for people, or is it wrong for the state of Iran to be embracing Bitcoin? Is that a bad thing?
The state or the people?
The state.
I mean, I'm not going to say it's a bad thing because Bitcoin is apolitical, but like my point is you can
it's apolitical yet we're going to politicize.
No,
we're gonna
Bitcoin is apolitical.
For talking
Bitcoin is apolitical. The people acting in Bitcoin obviously aren't. He made a serious lapse in judgment here. This was not a good idea.
Okay, so what if instead he just published his presentation on a website and then emailed the organizers a link to the URL? He never went to the country. He just sent them a link to the URL, and then they were able to watch his presentation virtually. Do you think he should still be arrested for that?
I'm not saying whether or not he should or shouldn't be arrested for that. I'm saying that I think it is ethically bankrupt and morally bankrupt to try to aid a totalitarian regime in the way that he did. And that's what he was doing.
My, if I can just chime in here, like, I still think no one has disproven my whole point that what he said, they already knew, and it was just the dumbest thing for him to do anyways.
He sent it to the government.
So do you think that this was
worth being in trouble? He shared the presentation with the United States. He told them that he was going to go.
They denied. They said he shouldn't
go.
He
went anyway.
Yeah, right.
And then had a follow-up interview with them where he told them, I win, and here's the presentation.
And he told them that he showed them how to use smart contracts and blockchain technologies to circumvent sanctions and launder money.
Which could have been found in like a 2-minute Google.
Excluding all the outside fluff, do you think what he did was objectively like naive or stupid, or do you think that it was with like, because that's where I'm like, okay,
Well, I think
Like,
it's
David's
stupid
gonna say
because the outcome is that
naivete.
he's in jail, which sucks for him.
Yeah.
But I think that what he did is be an ideological leader for our industry, and that we're going to say that no governments get to write laws that limit the free movement of ideas, the free movement of people, the free movement of money. Like, that's what this whole industry is about, and fuck criminalizing that. This is not, and I don't care how, if you're a serial killer and you're sitting down with a serial killer to tell them how to use Bitcoin so that they can get away with their crimes. You shouldn't be put in jail for sharing information.
No, but you can be called out for bad behavior, and I think
call
that's
them
bad
out,
behavior.
call them out. But
Like,
you
if
know
he had
what?
gone to North Korea to give talks to actual people, and then the United States government arrested him, that would be
You know,
fucked up.
If Donald
But-
Trump wants to tweet at Virgil and embarrass him for doing it, that is totally in the realm of that's free thought and free conversation. That's consistent. But putting him in a cage in a prison is just wrong. And I'm telling you, like, first off, the ACLU needs to be defending him. Second off, if this is allowed to be criminalized, it is a stepping stone towards the destruction of people being able to communicate information across political boundaries. Like, it will get worse and worse and worse from here until they say teaching math to someone in Iran is a crime.
Oh,
because they can use that to make missiles.
that's such a slippery
Wait, I have a
slope.
stupid
It is a
question.
slippery
No,
slope.
I'm saying that's a fallacy. It's like, this isn't about teaching someone math. This is about teaching someone how to circumvent international sanctions. It's two completely different issues. It's not a basic knowledge. It's about violating sanctions that have been imposed on a country, and whether or not you agree with those sanctions, I don't even agree with the idea that we've sanctioned North Korea. I think sanctions just hurt the people of a country rather than the actual government. But that's my whole point, is that what he was doing is he was teaching the North Korean government how to evade sanctions so that they can fatten their pockets even more. Because what do you think they're going to do with that knowledge? You think they're going to spread the wealth to North Korean citizens? No, they're going to do what they've done.
Obviously
They're going to hack South Korean exchanges. They're going to take Bitcoin from the South Korean exchanges, and then they're going to buy nuclear arms from the Russians.
So
We already know that they're
I
doing
haven't
this.
spent time in North Korea, so I can't speak to the reality of what North Korea is. But I can tell you that taking talking points from the foreign policy agenda of America is not the way to figure out the perspective of what people living on the ground in that place think.
No, I'm taking these perspectives from primary accounts from North Koreans who have been in prisoner camps. This isn't coming from the United States, man. This is coming from people who have actually lived in North Korea and are conveying to me their experience there. So I agree with you. I've never been to North Korea either. But I'm going to listen to people who actually have lived in that country and have told me how much of a
Do you think
hellhole
it
it
would be
is.
wrong to do the same presentation that he did to North Korea to United States leaders?
Yeah, I absolutely think
So
so.
you think to sit down with the U.S. government and to share similar information with the U.S. government
From
would
the
be morally wrong?
From the
If
perspective
it means-
of us being U.S. citizens, like, it's our country that he's coming to, like, teach us to, or because it's the United States?
If it means further concentration of power and elites exercising a degree of control and power over their people, I think that is wrong. Yes.
All right. Well, then if we're going to be equivalent in our application of the law, which is how it should be, then half of the industry should now be arrested and put in jail because they've sat down with the U.S. government and told the U.S. government how to leverage this technology. And so let's just arrest everyone.
I'm not saying that he should have been arrested. We're arguing two different points. I'm not saying that he should have been arrested.
I don't even feel like there's an argument here, because it's kind of like we're acknowledging just like every single angle of what's going on here. And yes, like we believe it's naive or whatever, but it's also part of like it's like what this whole industry was like brought up about. It's like being able to be free and do all these things that like are borderless, and like that's basically what he was trying to promote. So it's kind of like, I don't know if there's
Did
an
he take
argument
it to
here.
the extreme? Yes, he took it to the
Yeah,
extreme.
totally.
But you know what? That's freedom. Take it to the extreme.
He literally to the highest level of, and to some people, I mean, like that's always what these things seem like. It's like these things seem crazy, ridiculous, stupid, but
And-
pushing it to the extreme always seems
let
that
me
way.
point out one other thing too. All right, you know how much money
It's
for the
ridiculous.
percentage of the money that like could be laundered in crypto versus the laundering that North Korea does? Nothing. It's infinitesimally small. You know why they arrested him? They are sending a message. That is
Oh,
why
yeah,
they put
I have
him in
no
jail.
doubt that
the
they're doing
message,
that.
Who's the message they're sending it to? You.
Wait, can I ask a stupid
me.
question?
It's if you talk to people we tell you we don't like, we will put you in jail. And that is what freezes dialogue, it freezes commerce, it freezes ideas.
And what I'm saying is the dialogue with with authoritarians like Kim Jong-un, you don't even need to be having a dialogue with people like that. We need to be careful about who we talk to about this stuff because it's a powerful tool. And
I agree. I agree with that. You shouldn't be arrested though for it.
Where is he in jail? Is he in the United States or is he in North Korea?
He's in America.
He's in an American jail? Because this entire time I thought he was arrested
No. He got the FBI interviewed him and then arrested him in November.
So
they interviewed him.
We arrested political prisons.
Wow, I didn't know that until this conversation, but that's crazy.
Right. All right. Well, so we've beaten this topic. Well, wait.
I just need to wait. I had to weigh in on that. Because Virgil, I hope you see this. I hope you get out of prison. I hope everything works out. The ACLU needs to back him up and free Virgil. Free Virgil. Wait,
well, before you go, because I want your take on one other topic, and if I pronounce your name wrong, let me know. Kelly Loeffler? Loeffler?
Yeah. I think it's Loeffler.
Loeffler? Yeah, I think we're going to go with Loeffler. I'm sorry, guys. Sorry, Kelly, if you're watching this. Kelly Loeffler, she got the seat in Georgia's Senate. She was just approved by the governor.
How awesome is it to just be appointed? You don't have to do anything.
Right.
Like you're now a U.S. citizen.
So she's going to. So she got appointed. She's going to have to run for re-election in 2020. But quick, 2-minute thought blurb on that.
A Bitcoin CEO now in the Senate.
Yeah.
I think that her career in Bitcoin will be much more fruitful than a political career, and I hope she uses the next 12 months before she has to run for re-election as an opportunity to introduce some pro-Bitcoin legislation, and she bounces.
Sweet.
So I don't know her. I hope I hope it all works out for her. Little by little, we infiltrate the government, and eventually Bitcoiners will run the show. Which, the faster we can make that happen, the faster we can get Virgil out of jail. All right,
free Virgil, free Ross. Hey, come on, beer man.
Let's take a break.
Let's take a break.
Today's episode of Bitcoin Happy Hour is brought to you by Give Bitcoin, the new type of way to buy, give, and receive Bitcoin. If you've ever tried to give a friend or a loved one Bitcoin, you probably figured out that it's not that easy of a process. Seed phrases, altcoins, exchanges, wallets. Where do you even begin? Give Bitcoin is the best way to give the gift of Bitcoin. They take care of everything. The app easily allows you to buy Bitcoin and send it to the recipient of your choice. That recipient must then create an account before they're even able to do anything with a Bitcoin and before you're even charged. But hold on a second, there's more. Before the new Bitcoin owner can go and do something reckless with their new Satoshis, they've got to wait at least a minimum of a year before Give Bitcoin gives them access to the Bitcoin. During that first year, the new coiner will receive a monthly email with practical lessons about custody, how Bitcoin works, how to run a node, and more. Everything they need to know to become a true Bitcoiner. Their motto is give plus time lock plus educate equals Bitcoiner. I love it. To learn more and to start giving today, visit happyhour.givebitcoin.io. Again, that's happyhour.givebitcoin.io. And now, back to the show.
All right, guys,
back from the break.
Yeah, I took a little break there because things got a little spicy.
I liked it though.
Yeah, I liked it too. It's nice to have differences of opinion.
Intellectual discourse.
Intellectual discourse. Look at you.
Yeah, just spilled my drink. What the fuck, Colin?
What is this one? This is raspberry lime. Would you like the raspberry lime?
Raspberry lime?
Yeah.
Cheers.
Yeah.
The soy millennials.
Soy millennials. You mean the soy zoomers?
I'm a millennial.
You are. You are a millennial.
Yeah,
are you?
Anyway,
Yes.
Technically.
What year is your?
1996.
I think 95 is the cutoff.
No,
some put it at 96.
I believe 95 is the cutoff.
It's 96.
Are you on TikTok?
You used this argument last time.
I know.
Too.
Are you on TikTok?
Are you on TikTok?
All right. Let's. We're probably gonna cut all that.
No,
anyway,
we're not cutting any of that.
Kelly Loeffler, Bakkt CEO, is now a senator for Georgia, first female senator, and something like 100 years, and the other one served for I think it was a day or a week. It was some weird technicality.
Progress.
Progress, right?
The glass ceiling has been shattered.
Yep. And peace is raining on the way down. But so, like David was saying, hopefully this is a good thing. I, for one, so she is married to the
founder of ICE.
Yes. So, which makes me think that maybe they were Bitcoiners and maybe she was. But like, I don't actually know how much of a Bitcoiner she is. Do you know what I mean? Like,
Well,
I mean,
what makes you
she's
say
the
that?
CEO of the company that's doing Bitcoin
Sure,
futures.
but what makes you say
right?
that?
But that, I mean, people are the CEO of Hoover Vacuums isn't a fucking vacuum enthusiast, right? You know what I mean? Like, just because you're a CEO of a company doesn't necessarily mean, or like, in this case, a trading platform, doesn't necessarily mean that you really buy into what you're selling people. Like, I'm just saying, like, I don't know what her commitment is to Bitcoin and how much she is into it. If she was into it beforehand, if she just kind of took this position because she's a shrewd businesswoman and she saw an opportunity.
I don't think it matters.
I'd assume she is.
Yeah, I don't think it matters how long you've been in Bitcoin, but if you just become, and I know she didn't just become, but if you just become the CEO of a Bitcoin company that's doing institutional adoption, you're a Bitcoiner and you're a hardcore Bitcoiner.
Well, maybe
on top of that, like, what's she going to go back to if, assuming she doesn't go for re-election, like, she's going to go back to being CEO
the bond
of Bakkt,
markets,
which
the
means
bond markets.
she's going to want everything to be lined up for Bakkt to succeed because I'm sure she's got all sorts of vested
Well, and its
interests.
volume, speaking of Bakkt, its volume has been rising. I saw something from Alex Kruger recently where like actually like a fraction of a percentage of its volume is actually physically settled Bitcoin futures.
They're
And
only
most of
doing
it is
cash settled.
Yeah, most of it is just paper. But because there's an option, right? Like you can either have physically settled if you want to, but most of these Wall Street traders don't care. They just want cash, right? Like they want
Sad.
yeah, I mean
Sad.
that's all they know, man. All they know are like, derivatives and cash settlements. So like none of them want it settled in kind. But anyway, volume has been rising, which is either a good or a bad thing,
Dude, I think the takeaway message is exactly what David said, though. Like, we've made it. Bitcoin's in the Senate now. Like,
that's one way to look at it.
There's one Bitcoin senator and 49 non-Bitcoin senators for the first time ever.
I think was it David that
Or
just
maybe
said
99.
There you
99.
go.
I mean, we'll see how much stuff she's able to like push or whatever, because she's not going to be able to get anything approved or anything.
Oh yeah, I mean she's not going to probably push for like
appointed.
yeah, she's not necessarily going to push for any Bitcoin.
But she can make like some spirited on the floor speeches.
Hopefully that's what she does.
Well, what's cool is it's like just continuing the kind of trend of like Bitcoin politicians. Like you think about like Patrick Henry, right? And who is the other one that came up during the
Kentucky
Libra?
guy?
I think Patrick Henry is the Kentucky guy.
The Colorado governor and the Montana.
Yeah, but just like all these people, just like like all these people, especially started coming out after the Libra hearings, and like are like super bullish on Bitcoin, and are congressional members who are showing that like this. The nice thing I think to know is as a Bitcoiner is that like there are congressional members like who are hostile to it for sure. Like what's his name, Sherman,
Brad Sherman.
Yeah, but like then there are some who like totally get it and are like approaching it not from a political or status standpoint, but from like I'm a United States citizen and this is important to my personal freedom. Because these Congress like. Like Patrick Henry, I don't know what his his MO is or like his like end game is, but like dude probably realizes like he's not going to be in the Senate or not going to be in the Congress forever. So you're going to want this when you get out. But it's nice to see that, and I think you're definitely going to see it more and more, especially as Bitcoin continues to grow and its network effects, kind of push outwards.
Dude, in before every single senator owns a little bit of Bitcoin. And like Kelly Loeffler in the background is just like, giving them all little airdrops of it.
Just handing out like ledgers to everyone.
If you're listening to this right now, please, close session, like after everyone's gone home from work and everything, just tell them to download a Coinbase wallet, give them a little Bitcoin.
A Coinbase wallet?
Or,
really? Not a green wallet from Blockstream?
You think they're going to... They're going to want Coinbase first. They want that username password combo.
I agree with you, though. Coinbase is the easiest for people who don't know what they're doing at all.
No, bro, Cash App
centralized fucking wallets. Why not give them a wallet they own the keys for? Blockstream. Come on.
Hey, you know what? This is why people don't want to download an app, because people freak the fuck out whenever you're like, hey, download this simple app, and they're like, don't fucking do that! And it's like, Jesus, all right, fine. Like,
it's a good point here, man.
Weird.
Kelly, Senator Loeffler, give every single member of the Senate some Bitcoin. Wallet. Just do that for us and let them kind of start owning it. It's like the ultimate Trojan horse. Like, hey, I'm giving you money, and then in 2-3 years when Bitcoin's mooning again, you're gonna have a whole lot of senators who want to make sure that Bitcoin's got all the regulatory protections.
This just in, Bitcoin to not moon within the next 6 months.
That too.
Probably likely.
18K by the end of the year.
What's the next subject?
Next subject, are we tying the bow on that one?
I feel like we just did.
I guess like the only thing you can say is like this is bullish and like it's probably good, but like I don't know how much material benefit it's gonna bring. But
I think it's like plutonic.
it's cool.
I don't think it's like bullish or bearish. I think it's just like a keg or a cog like fitting into its.
Yeah, it's a good.
Well, you know what it does
analogy.
too is it proves once and for all that like being in Bitcoin doesn't preclude you from being a senator, right? Like you got that thing.
Was
going
that a
on.
problem?
so-
that people, was that an
unfortunately-
existential problem?
Well, I don't know. Like, do you feel a little weird, like knowing that people are going to be digging into your past if you ever run for Senate, and you're like, oh, well, I also worked for Bitcoin, companies for a while, and they're like, oh, like you worked for a Bitcoin company, you're pro Bitcoin. Well, yeah, and I can be a senator too because Kelly Loeffler was a senator. So boom, it's like it's a success story,
And with that in mind, speaking of success stories, Lightning Network reaching its first exchange integration with Bitfinex. Probably not everyone's first choice, but
I mean, we're not allowed to use it if you're in the United States. So I'm just
Man, if I had a Bitfinex account,
But-
I'd be topping it up with some Lightning
Leo
Bitcoin right now.
So like that's the other thing too. So this year Spark Swap came out, right? And so did Jack Mahler's Olympus, which is a way for you to buy Lightning Bitcoin to a Lightning wallet. Yeah, like let's fucking eat, boys. Right to your Lightning wallet with an ACH transfer, which is super dope. I love that use case, especially for onboarding people onto Lightning because Lightning is super complicated. It's still really buggy. It's a hard network to use. That being said, I don't really know like what's the benefit. Like there's not for me like adding Lightning withdrawals and deposits on an exchange. Unless fees just become astronomical, like at least right now, I don't really see any material benefit because when you're going to an exchange, you're already giving up custody of your assets, and you don't really care about whether or not the like on ramps and off ramps are greased with something like Lightning or decentralized because
you do actually. I'll tell you why.
Why? Tell me why.
Are you ready for this?
Okay.
It's not. I just was waiting for you to
Drop the
finish with
knowledge
your point. 2 points that kind of overlap into each other, but just as someone, as you were saying that, I was thinking of like, what would I use it for? Why would I use it? On-chain transactions, you can only you can only assume that they're so fast, and by default, they're slow. And so they're going to take 10, 30 minutes.
So for arbitrage is what you're saying.
So
maybe.
if I'm a trader, so the first underlying reason I believe is to...
Oh yeah, the arbitrage game just got like
I
dramatically.
mean, the arbitrage game gets a lot more efficient, and there's a lot less opportunities.
Okay, that's a good point.
But first and foremost, you're like creating this infrastructure for the future. So that being said, in the future, once the Lightning capacity is able to support, multiple Bitcoins worth, like per, if I wanted to deposit one whole Bitcoin onto Bitfinex, eventually that will be possible. Just it's a matter of when, not if. Once that happens, if I see a move happening and I don't have anything in Bitfinex, I can now deposit like that. I don't have to wait.
That's a good point.
For example, 2 weeks ago, Bitcoin, let's say, was going up, and I didn't have enough in my derivatives trading account website, and I wanted to get into that account and make a position, but I wasn't able to because there wasn't enough Bitcoin in there, and I wanted to send it there. It took me about an hour to wait because Bitcoin was so active and the network was filled with transactions. So Lightning bypasses that, and that's really fucking exciting.
That's a good point.
Also, eventually, Bitcoin transaction fees on chain will be a thing. Like they're
heavy,
Yeah.
like high transaction fees for sure.
it's built to eventually have that be part of the network. So like,
Right. So yeah, like down the road, definitely going to have a material benefit here. I guess I'm just saying right now.
It's like
with,
laying the road. Like
yeah,
the
it's
railway.
laying the groundwork. Right now, I don't think there's as much of an incentive unless maybe you are a trader, but that's also going to require more exchanges, to be able to.
I don't even know if you can send half a Bitcoin to an exchange.
I mean, you could use a Wumbo channel, but like you'd have to be able to like that's one thing Bitrefill does. Like they've started doing fat channels, and like you would have to set that up yourself, and you'd probably have to you couldn't just do that as a regular user, right? Because like the boundaries for you'd have to be able to go in and tinker with the channel that you were opening with someone. Rather, you'd have to have extensive knowledge. But one of the things that I think is it will be good for is just like general liquidity, like being able to have exchanges as like as routing hubs is going to be a huge thing, kind of in the same way that just like Lightning service providers are kind of already doing that. Yeah. One of the things that I think is kind of strange is, so this is the process, as Vlad Kostia, one of our writers, wrote up this for the announcement. Vlad. He says, in regards to the process that users will have to follow to send their Lightning Satoshis to Bitfinex, the Bitfinex CEO described a system during which the exchange issues a proprietary intermediary token. And this is Paulo, CEO of Bitfinex. The process is simple. You go on the Lightning Network deposit page, you generate an invoice, and then you pay it with any Lightning wallet that you may use, he said. Then Bitfinex will credit you LNX, which is their proprietary Lightning token, or Lightning Network currency, and then you can exchange it on a one-to-one basis for Bitcoins. This is strange to me. I guess they have to keep it. So, like, the reason for that,
it sounds like is the reason why they're doing that is because they're not able to support a lot of Bitcoin on Lightning channels. Is that what it is?
Well, they just have a token for trading, because once you deposit it onto the exchange, right, you're not using Lightning to trade. You still have to have a. Yeah, so you just have to have
an IOU.
Yeah, exactly. It's the same thing as Bitcoin when you go on like something like, any exchange, right? It's the IOU representing the Bitcoin. So I think why that's necessary is because they have to keep track of how much Lightning Bitcoin they have in their channels, so that they can make sure to be able to route the deposits when people want to take their Bitcoin out, right? Like you couldn't just have
this is a token on Lightning?
Sounds like Tether.
It's not a token on Lightning. It's just like a token that represents your balance.
Got you.
So like if you deposited Lightning Bitcoin onto Bitfinex, you'd need a token designating that is Lightning, because then there's no way for Bitfinex to be able to differentiate between on-chain Bitcoin and Lightning Bitcoin. Do you see what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Like in their internal accounting.
Sounds like Tether.
Are you being serious?
It's not backed one-to-one. Just wait.
True. Yeah, but
before articles about how Lightning is fractional.
Literally, it's an before. Like, just wait for like the death spiral of LNX. Bitcoin is not backed, and they've just created another token. It's all
Tether.
True. Well, billions of dollars did go into Tether, so like that money was real. I was listening to Nick's podcast with his.
Great, yeah, I listened to that too. Really,
they're basically talking about how like it's ridiculous that people say like it was inflated with like air, because like that I forgot what his name was. I'm drawing a terrible blank right now, but he was saying that he saw billions of dollars with his own eyes go into Tether to fund that.
Which that's like super important, I think, to kind of have those kind of primary accounts.
Yeah,
because I think for like the outsider looking in, like honestly, if you're just a noob in the Bitcoin industry and like you look at how and you read all of the like reporting about Tether and like the Fudster reporting or like the Amy Castor reporting where she's like really like bent on like making sure that like she's exposing Tether. Mm-hmm. Like it seems kind of convincing. Like it's a shady company. They don't have banking relationships. Like it looks fucking weird, right? But like it's good to have that insider perspective because it really does shine a light on how things actually work. And I used to be one of those people, like I drank the Tether Kool-Aid hard. I still think that they're kind of shady, but saying that they're a fractional reserve, like or at least like totally insolvent is just probably, I think it's kind of ridiculous.
Yeah, I mean it's what happens when like it's like that game, the like telephone game where you say something and you say it a bunch of times and eventually it turns into something that is not what the original
another good
person
analogy.
said.
You're 2 for 2 today, baby. Let's go.
But yeah, and like the stuff about like the bank. Thank you, Brandon. Support, but the Bitfinex like not being able to find bank accounts and stuff. That's like FUD, but that's not FUD because what crypto company is able to have strong banking relationships? So like, come on, like that's
nowadays it's getting better, but that's only because
it's still not.
It's getting better because you have designated crypto banks like Silvergate, which are like actually and those like Silvergate's in Nevada. I don't know the other. There's another really
like a one bank.
That's getting better, but on the flip side, there are a lot of like institutional banks that are like, we've decided we're not going to serve Bitcoin companies anymore.
Mm-hmm. It's
so
like,
weird. For no other reason than like a little middle finger to all of us.
Hyper Bitcoinization can't come soon enough, man. Because then it's like we don't need the banks.
I know.
Right?
Just wait.
Like, all right. Well, so final thoughts on Lightning for exchanges. I think the kind of consensus is like could be good. Yeah, bullish. Could be good. Bullish. Will be good. Not the most useful thing right now, at least until other exchanges operate. I hadn't even thought about the arbitrage point. That was really good.
Well, I mean, Brandon brought that up, but like the arbitrage is really
brought that up.
Well, so what I pointed out and like what I really love about Lightning going onto exchanges is like the fact that it now creates the infrastructure to deposit quickly. That's really it, depositing quickly. You're not able to do that. If I deposit to Binance, Coinbase Pro, anywhere, you have to wait 30, 45, 50, an hour, sometimes 2 hours. If we're in another bull market, you're going to be waiting 2, 3, 4. Honestly, if there aren't Lightning-enabled exchanges in 2-3 years from now, you might be waiting days to deposit your Bitcoin.
Did you hear him just get worked up? Like, you just worked yourself up on that.
Well, I'm passionate about that.
It could be an hour. You would do 3... A day. It could be a day.
You know, we might die before our Bitcoin gets to the exchange.
Counterpoint to that though, and this isn't like people would scream at me for this, but like for the exchange, as soon as they see the transaction hit their mempool and they know it's from you, like, and if you let them know,
credit that.
Yeah, they would just immediately credit it. As long as the fee is high enough, there's not really. Yeah, they don't, but they could, because that's how a lot of payment processors work.
It's a risk. Though.
Yeah,
it is a risk, right? Which is why it's like.
So like betting platforms right now, and like other platforms, I'm sure too, they credit with zero conf. That's a risk that they take. But exchanges, and you said like if they know it's me, well, who am I? Like, what if I turned into a malicious actor? What if I finally build up the credit to say, oh, I'm a good person, and then financially screw an exchange with a irreversible transaction that completely ruins the business? So
yeah, it's too high risk for an exchange to credit without a couple comps.
Yeah, I mean, maybe
one comp.
You know, honestly though, now that I think about it, maybe like when the Bitcoin hash power is. It's already astronomically high, but when it's so impossible to even think about attacking it, maybe then zero conf is like, well, how can you reverse that?
Also, if you think about it from like a legal perspective, like they know you're the account, like they can see from your like account's logs that you were trying to deposit Bitcoin through your account. And so they have like, they know you're the one saying you're depositing this much Bitcoin. So if you end up trying to screw them by like sending that transaction somewhere else,
yeah, I mean, it's like, what if I was fake all along, though? It's unless I know the exchange personally, and at that point, you're setting custom rules for different users.
Right. So it would be too much. I agree. Like, ultimately, it's too much of a headache because, like, let's say that they do take zero comps and you trade with Bitcoin you don't have, then they have to disable withdrawals until that confirmation hits, right? Because if you were to zero comp, send Bitcoin in, they credit your account, you trade for another token or Ethereum, then you withdraw that, and then you just double spend the Bitcoin and then add a higher fee, and then the higher fee one is the one that goes through first. Then you just got free Ethereum, right? Or like free whatever. Yeah. But like so they would have to wait until you actually trade, I think, and like disable your withdrawals. But anyway,
I mean that's
beside the point, I think it's a good point about especially in the future when block size is a little more, or like demand is a little higher for block space. Definitely going to be a game changer. All right, we're running out of time, but I do want to bring this up just very briefly because I think it's super cool. Russell Okung, the left tackle for the Los Angeles Chargers, for his
tighten up, baby.
Down with the Chargers.
Tighten up. Let's go.
I'm a Chargers fan. I'm a Bears fan, so I don't like either.
But anyway, so for his My Cleats, My Cause, which is a NFL initiative where players design their own custom cleats and wear them in Week 14 for certain causes, usually charitable, he chose BTC Pay Server. We just released an article about this today. If you haven't peeped the kicks yet, super dope. You should go check them out. But Russell Okung has kind of been like the premier like NFL ambassador for Bitcoin, and I just think it's super cool that he is giving BTC Pay a shout out because it's one of the coolest projects.
What I really love
open source Bitcoin.
Yeah, I mean I think there's so many awesome open source projects, but BTC Pay is like one of the best. What I think is really cool about this is that Russell's actually going to be able to wear the cleats in the game, as opposed to other weeks in the NFL where there isn't this initiative where people are able to display like their causes that they're wearing them for. Like other NFL players wear cleats to warm up in, and they're always flashy. They always have some sort of message. So the idea behind this is not new, but the fact that the NFL is letting people like openly express a cause that they're passionate about on a certain week to wear them in game, I think is awesome.
I think, is Russell on IR though?
I think he's back. He's been back for
nice.
a week or two, I think.
Okay, cool.
He might have been placed back on injury. I don't know, though. I think he's back, though.
I know he's injured for a while. He his first start, I think, of the season was against the Titans.
Yeah.
In Nashville, which Russell saw you play.
The first game of the season?
Yeah, his first game that he played this season was against the Titans.
Right, and then he came out with an injury for like weeks. And that's when we were talking about Bitcoin 2019. So I think after that is when he got injured again.
Do you know? Also, by the way, Colin, did you see in Telegram the like GM or like his business partner.
Oh yeah, the Bitcoin is guy.
Gave you a little shout out.
It was nice
for the article. So
Nice.
Hey, fun fact: Russell Okung is actually one of Philip Rivers' kids.
Really?
Wow.
Is he number 14?
He's like number 36.
Boo
this man.
One more quick note of just like a really interesting podcast I just listened to. That's like a pat ourselves on the back little thing. Planet Money came out with the podcast. This may have been a while ago, and I just now listened to it. But about there was a Russian syndicate that was going to casinos and going to their slot machines, and they had like a little app that they were basically logging in all of their different moves of what came up on the screen, and then it was telling them what was going to happen next on the slot machine and how much to bet, basically. And this was because, and this is where you get to the pat on the back, because their random number generator algorithm for this specific slot machine make and model was cracked. Like they figured out what the elliptical curve technology was, like in order to kind of make that random numbers stuff happen.
Uh-huh.
So turned out like these Russian guys are able to like basically put it into an app and be able to backtrack exactly like what the next thing that was going to show up on the screen was, because of like they cracked basically the randomness of the curve.
What made you think of that?
Yeah.
I literally listened to this thing last night and I was just like, oh man, this is like such a crypto thing. But because of like some of the new like advances in technology that have happened in part because of this space and like all these people trying to create their own, blockchain security algorithms and stuff, like that's now not a worry. Like SHA-256, right, was like one of the but anyways, listening to the podcast, I don't know like what the exact encryption mechanism they had in order to like make it provably random was, but like it was just super, super interesting to kind of hear like the same sort of math and back end stuff that goes into Bitcoin and crypto also goes into these casinos, and like one of them was hacked.
So what's fun? This reminds me of this story that like what you just brought up. The official Bitcoin wallet, if I'm not mistaken, I might be misspeaking on a couple of things, but the overall story is the same. The official Bitcoin wallet for Android, I actually don't know if we've talked about this before, but that wallet in 2014, in like the peak of that market, the JavaScript random number generator that they used in that wallet, some hackers unrelated to Bitcoin and that whole crypto technology
Cracked it.
They were able to basically hack it and like make it not random. And then we're able to go and like basically, I think, find out people's private keys.
The seed phrase.
Yeah, and so
device,
anyone in 2014 that downloaded this wallet basically got all their funds stolen because of that flaw.
Wow.
Yeah.
Interesting.
It's the same thing, but it's kind of funny because it actually applies directly to crypto and it's not solving the problem.
Yeah. Well, like, honestly, it may have been the same, because I think this was like around 2014, 15, 16, somewhere around that date range that like these Russian guys were doing it. So it may have been the same.
It might have been the same. Yeah, definitely.
Encryption.
I forgot who was telling me this, but yeah, it was like they didn't even go into the wallet that they were using. The wallet just pulled from the JavaScript source code library on the internet, so they had nothing to do.
Nice.
They just knew that
little lazy shortcut. Yeah.
Yep. They just knew that they were pulling that generator from that code. And it's like,
yeah, dude.
Someone was able to like a malicious developer was able to upload, because it was open source, like whatever they were developing.
Right.
Someone was able to sneakily like upload a pull request or something to that JavaScript random number generator that was able to hack it, and nobody noticed.
Well,
so it was like,
what they may have done too, and like maybe what these guys did is like they had their own machine in house that they would just consistently be pulling the lever and finding like what happened next, and they got enough data pieces. They basically were able to kind of like backtrack out exactly.
So it was never random.
None of them were ever random. It's all just like a elliptical curve, usually like a
slot machine. A slot machine is totally random.
No, computers cannot be random. They have to start with some seed of some launching point that then they are calculably random. But like if you know their launching point, or if you have enough data sets that you can kind of backtrack out the what the curve looks like, you can effectively break the randomness of it.
Yeah, but is
So-
that more of a probability or like a key to unlock it completely? Because that sounds more like a probability thing where like you can count cards, but you're still sort of gambling on it.
No. It is if you know the key, and if you have enough data points, you can basically calculate. And like I'm saying this without being a cryptographer myself, but like you can calculate and figure out exactly what like the random number generator is actually doing to generate these pseudo-random numbers.
That makes
It's
a
not
lot.
true randomness.
This makes a lot of sense because the cold card wallet actually encourages you to, as many times as you want. They have a random number generator that they use to generate your private key, but they also encourage you to enter a random number that you think of in your head
Exactly.
to help like randomize the randomness.
Totally, yeah, and like a lot of these,
That's cool as
lot of
shit.
these will have like some sort of. Sometimes they'll use like the date of your like the time of your computer as like one of the inputs for the random number
So
generator.
it's
Because like
random.
there's
like,
some real randomness kind of added into it, but none of them are like. There's always an elliptical curve kind of graph that they use in order to kind of augment the actual randomness on top of it. And if you can crack that, then you can crack the actual randomness of it. That's why also for Bitcoin, like one of the things is that Bitcoins, I think, is like some sort of curve like this, like an x to the 3 kind of curve. And I'm sure it's way more complicated than that. But like, because of the fact that there's like potentially 3 different points along any line that's created in their elliptical curve, you can't actually prove that like any sort of one data set falls on any point of the curve because it can intersect multiple times on that curve. And so like that's also why
this is now going.
I know, and this is like
beyond.
way beyond. But this is also why people talk about quantum computing as like a big issue for Bitcoin.
Because they'll be able to figure it out. Like
Because
that
you can kind of
much more
skip
quickly.
that step of abstraction and like suspend it in like the yes no quantum.
Ooh, let's talk about that next.
Beer
episode.
man, cue the money.
Yeah.
And we are out. Thanks for
what?
joining us for this episode, guys.
So you liked me throwing money at you like 2 weeks ago,
No, I mean, I like it when Graham does it.
but it turned you on. It's
I don't know about turning me on.
I'm the money thrower in this town.
cool. Take the shit.
Like,
All right.
People were suffering because this is devalued.
I don't know, dude. That was the most interesting part in my opinion.
Yeah. That was
Anyway,
cool.
thanks for joining us, guys. Tune in next week. Deuces.
Peace.